Disability Advocacy 101, what not to do. Well, stay tuned as we're going to be talking about disability advocacy coming up next. Stay tuned, everyone. Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to PWD Allies podcast. My name is Brent Frayne. I'm the host. And, well, as usual, please like, share, comment, subscribe to our channel. And you can subscribe to your favorite podcast wherever you find it best suited for you. On today's show, we're going to be talking about Disability Advocacy 101, what not to do. There are some great advocates out there who advocate for, affordable housing, is it transit, accessible housing. I mean, you name it. There's so many different topics that people advocate for. Tireless advocacy. But then there's advocates out there that unfortunately they're bad actor advocates who will claim that they care for the disability community, but they're self-serving, right? And I mean, I'm not here to throw anyone under the bus and saying that they really don't they really don't care. But I mean, in different ways, because I think deep down in their own way, they probably care, but they are reflecting it as a negative in the disability community across Canada. I really think that advocates should really come together in their own way of contributing and coming together as a whole, rather than infighting back and forth, because really it causes a lot of stereotypes. And when I mention that, it's like divide. It's a dividing disabled against disabled, have and have nots. And we talk a lot about, Neil, we talk a lot about that on the show with have and have nots. I mean, we get that from the provincial and territorial or federal government of dividing disabled against disabled. And, I think nobody should be living below the poverty level of Canada, provincially, territorial, or federal, right?
Yeah. And let's back up a little bit, Brent. I mean,
Yeah.
the reason why we're doing this show today, I mean, what is disability advocacy? Like what should it be, right? I mean, it should be amplifying voices of
Mhm.
disabled folks, that are living in legislated poverty. So I mean, sometimes you and I come on the podcast here and we rant. We throw darts a little bit at David E. I mean, I throw darts at David Eby. But and I've said this before. It's like I don't really like throwing darts at David Eby. Like,
Mhm.
but we're throwing darts at the policy, right? We're throwing darts at bad decisions, bad policy decisions, the bad idea hat. We've talked about
Mhm.
that. So like I would love to throw bouquets at David Eby. I would. In fact, I'm gonna throw a bouquet at him right now, just to prove that I'm true to my word. Is that there was a few days ago, there was news that the provincial government here in BC canceled funding for the Children's Hospital in Vancouver. They canceled funding for parents of sick kids.
Mhm.
We have Children's Hospital in Vancouver. The provincial government funds the hospital so that the parents of sick kids can go visit their children in the hospital and stay with them. And the provincial government canceled the funding, and it stayed that way for a few days. And then there was all this like ruckus on social media everywhere. It's like, WTF? Like, what's going on? Like, what are you doing, David Eby?
Mhm.
and and he woke up and they reversed the decision. So I'm throwing a bouquet at David Eby and saying thank
Mhm.
you for reversing the decision. That's great. So anyway, so that's one side of it, right? Like
Yeah.
we advocate to change policy that's wrong.
Mhm.
And sometimes, like I said, you throw darts at you throw darts at the policy, you throw darts at David Eby or whatever.
Mhm.
But today's show is a little bit different because we're talking about people that throw. we're talking about other people with disabilities that are throwing darts at other people with disabilities, right?
Hmm.
We're going to be talking today about the anti-advocate,
Yeah.
the ones that don't uplift other people with disabilities and their advocacy. You know, the ones that can't wait to say anything bad about another advocate's efforts.
Yeah. Before we jump into that part, I just want to kind of put my few words in about the Children's Hospital.
Hmm.
When I was a little child, I actually was a patient at the BC Children's Hospital for a short period of time. But if and the funding was there. But if it was been fast forward and I was still a child and I was at the BC Children's Hospital and the funding was cut back, I don't know what my mom would have done. I don't know what she would have done because she wouldn't be able to come in to see me. And so, yeah, like there was a little stint in my life way back when I was a child. I was at the BC Children's Hospital for sick children. And it was, part of my disability that they were trying to figure out where I was at. And, I had operations and, yeah, my disability is still there. It just stabilized it to the best they could on one of my conditions. But yes, I do remember, even as a child, I mean, some people will probably look back and they'll have little flashbacks of remembering when they were a child of different memories that come to be. And I do remember that and doctors around and, Brent, can you see my fingers? Can you waving
Hmm.
fingers? And my balance was off. Everything was off. I had to learn how to navigate. Anyway, I'm not going to get into all that. It'll be another show, but
Yeah.
like rehabilitation, right? And so it was for me as a child, I was confused. I was scared. I didn't know what was going on. But I
Hmm.
had great care. I had, I guess some of the wardens that were there, some of the nurses, I don't know who they were, but dressed up as clowns and all
Yeah.
sorts of, and they're trying to
No,
make
yeah.
make me
Like the
feel welcome. Like,
Children's Hospital is great, you know,
yeah,
and it deserves the funding and support. It deserves it,
yeah.
and yeah.
But I, as growing up, I realized, watching news and just through disability advocacy organizations and networking, um, come to realize that there were so many inequalities, and as we've now blossomed to this channel, what we're doing now is bringing all the inequalities, the policy, bad policy decisions that have impacted Canadians with disabilities across our beautiful country and around the world, right? I mean,
Hmm.
it's not just within Canada, and I'll say it again. I mean, anyone with a disability or an ally, you're more than welcome to come onto the show. Like, reach out to Neil, and he'll get you scheduled in and talk about your lived experience stories. And
Yeah.
but I mean, other anti disabled people throwing darts at other disabled people in
Yeah.
across our country it's not welcome.
Well, and even let's start here too, Brent. I mean, again, like our last podcast, we had Mike Morris on. It was great episode. We packed a lot in,
It was a fantastic
and
episode, and thanks for
and
coming on, by the
yeah,
way.
and we tweeted about it on Twitter. I mean, I still call it Twitter. I know you do too,
Yeah,
X. Um, and we tweeted about it. It was that we said it was a great episode, and
always
we
blowing up big time.
we had somebody replied to that tweet, and we know who it is, but we're not going to mention any names. And he said, well, wasn't Mike Morris voted out by voters? You know, I forget the exact thing. I mean, maybe you can look it up. I don't know, but it was to that effect. It was like, well, wasn't Mike voted out by voter?
I'll look it up
Yeah,
while
I
you're
mean,
for
he
audio.
like this is a comment from a guy that can't wait to shit on like I mean, I'm sure Mike Morris is used to comments like that, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, of all the people to pick on, like he was by far and away the strongest disability advocate that we have in all of Canada, maybe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he was continually like stepping up to the plate and saying, you know, that this Canada disability benefit isn't good enough, and making suggestions to revise the legislation, and on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, to go out of your way to just crap on Mike Morris for no good reason other than to just crap on him, and like, you know, it was basically a gaslighting comment, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like Mike Morris got voted out and he kind of deserves it kind of thing, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And I don't
yeah.
know what it's just
Was
like it bugs me when
was
people.
the comment, Neil? Was it under YouTube, under the comment section, or do you know if it was
No,
at?
I'm gonna try to find it here now.
Yeah. Okay.
It was it was on Twitter.
Was it under the one where you mentioned had great conversation today with Mike, or was it the original post?
A great conversation, I believe. Anyway,
Oh,
it might take us a while to find it.
yeah.
So
I'm looking under the
I should have tried to flag it
yeah.
earlier.
I'm looking under the comments under that one, and there's no
Um,
comment now, but unless you can find it. But while you're looking,
yeah,
I'm going to talk to our audience.
sure.
So,
I'll try to look for it.
yeah, it was a great episode when we had Mike Morris from the former MP for the Federal Green Party from Kitchener Center. Mike is a great advocate. He advocates for his community and also for disabled people from across coast to coast to coast across our beautiful country. Um, Mike, from day one, he hasn't given up on people with disabilities. Like what I mean is that he had put in different recommendations, and they were actually successfully granted in the committee stage for the Canada Disability Benefit to strengthen and to get the Canada Disability Benefit properly put out there for Canadians with disabilities at minimum 1.5 million disabled Canadians across our country. Again, the federal government decided that no, they didn't want to go with all these recommendations. Let's just get, you know what, let's just get this benefit out there, and we're gonna basically pay it out as small as we can. From what I've been hearing, is it started out at $2,700. It was recommended, then down to 2,200,
Yeah.
then down to 2,000, then down to like 200. Now I'm hearing that people may only get up to $20. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, $20.
Yeah, like I've
$20 in my
got
pocket, like
yeah.
really?
I'm one of the lucky ones that actually has the DTC,
Mm-hmm.
and but I'm wondering if I'm going to even qualify for the kind of disability benefit, because I'm thinking they're going to find a way to disqualify me for something.
Oh yeah,
Um,
no, I mean it's beyond like watered down benefit, and again another slap in the face to the disability community from the federal government, from the CDB, is that it was supposed to be based on individual, not household income.
yeah,
Like I mean,
yeah,
a 2 year old could do a better job. I was
yeah.
talking to my one of my neighbors, and wow, she's a really brilliant little girl. She's like 3. She just turned um, yeah, she just turned 3. And I
Yeah.
tell you, I said there was another gentleman in our building, and he has a really cool motorized scooter, almost like yours. And
Yeah.
I said, "Well, how fast does that go?" And he's like, "Oh, it goes pretty fast." And the little girl says, "I bet I could run faster." And he says, "Well,
Mm.
I can go fast too." He said, "These are my legs." And the and they're
Right.
he just, "Can you do a wheelie?" Oh, I don't want. I said, no, no, he doesn't want to do that. No, but we just basically referring to the Canada Disability Benefit. I said, it's people need to have the resources, right? And so
Yeah.
that wheelchair or scooter basically cost a lot of money. and the little girl's mother said, "Yeah, Joe, yeah, you're gonna get the CDB, right?" And he says, "No, that thing's a." He said, "That thing's an effing joke." He said, I bet I could actually put it out better. I mean, this is
Yeah.
coming from a little girl, Fenric.
Yeah,
I
and I
mean,
mean
come
it's
on.
true. It's true though.
Yeah. I mean,
I wanted to get back to Mike
yeah.
Morris for a bit because I found the comment, and
Okay.
on the surface it's a very short uh comment. Like it's not like this bombastic comment or anything. It seems very innocent, right?
Hmm.
But it's just a few words, but it's like he didn't need to say it. He didn't even need to say it. Basically, he said, "Didn't Mike Morris get fired by the voters?"
Oh
That
my.
that that's the exact tweet that he put out. So
Uh,
this was 3 days ago after we said that was a great conversation from Mike Morris, and this guy tweeted back, "Didn't Mike Morris get fired by the voters?" Actually, I should say he spelt Mike Morris's last name wrong.
oh,
Let's call that out too.
that's totally
Let's
disrespectful.
call that out too. That he spelt his name wrong. But he said, didn't Mike Morris with an S at the end get fired by the voters? And to her credit, Hayden's mama, who we mentioned on Mike Morris's podcast,
Hmm.
she piped in right away, and she said, "No, he lost because of vote splitting, not because we fired him. We all woke up devastated." And
Exactly.
and I mean that is the perfect response. That is the perfect tweet because that's the truth.
It
That
is.
is the truth.
And
And
thank you, Hayden's mama, on that for
yeah,
calling
like
back on.
clap for that because I mean, yeah, there's so I don't really need to defend Mike Morris. I mean,
Yeah, he can take care of himself.
he can take care of himself. I mean, I'm sure he gets a lot of crap like comments like that. But even so, it bugs me because yes, he's a politician, uh, but
But the feeling, I mean,
he's a strong advocate. Like
yeah,
he even says like every time we have him on the podcast,
yeah,
and I mentioned like he's been on the podcast now 12 times. Like that was the 12th time, right? But
yeah.
literally every time he comes on the podcast, at some point during the podcast, he says, "Look, I've got a lot of privilege.
Hmm.
I've got a lot of privilege, but he says I feel obligated to speak up for those voices that aren't able to speak for themselves."
Yeah, or not being heard. Yes.
And he says that's the number one reason why I got into politics in the first place is to speak up for those that can't speak up for themselves.
Hmm.
And and but he starts out with by saying, like I'm privileged. He recognizes his position of privilege,
Yeah,
as a politician. And I mean, like a really humble guy. He
he is.
gets it, right? He get a very, very strong advocate. And then you get this jerk, this
Hmm.
idiot, this ass that just wants to tear people down.
Hmm.
I
Oh,
mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
you know,
And I'll always think of the old saying goes, and I think a lot of people could probably agree. I mean, they don't have to agree, but in my opinion, when you use the word assume, right? Assume,
yeah.
ASSUME. If you break down the syllables, what does that mean, everyone? You make an ass out of you and me,
Yeah.
right? And I don't normally use that kind of language on the podcast, but I remember an elementary teacher told me that back when, and I said, well, I assume, Brent, do you know what assume means? No, no, so I said,
Yeah.
and she goes, it's an asset of you and me. So if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all.
Yeah.
And it always stuck in the back of my mind on that is if I don't have anything nice to say, then don't
Hmm.
say it at all. I mean, I'm here just as an advocate myself. and I do the best I can on bringing people together and try to make it as a um, I mean, there's so many things going on around our world, but I try to make it a better place for everybody and bring their voices forward and come onto the platform and talk about your lived experience stories and bringing politicians on and giving their viewpoints of where do they see things at and politicians even they come onto our platform to so that their voices can be heard. They can carry the voices of what they're hearing in their community or across our country, and they're bringing our voices forward.
Mhm.
And I know that there are advocates who would love, there are some that would love to come onto our show, but some of them are shy. They've reached out to me from time to time, and they're like, well, I don't know what to say. And I said, just say how you feel. Just say how you feel as advocating on what your strengths are. And we're non-judgmental here. Like we will hear voices on your viewpoint on how do you want to see things changed in the broken system purposely, and I'll emphasize purposely broken system
Mhm.
is policies that are embedded in our system and that pin disabled against disabled, and we need that fixed. We don't need to have an anti advocate out there
Yeah.
pinning disabled people against disabled people. Oh, you can have or you cannot have.
Well, talking about things that are broken, let's again turn our attention to this one advocate that spoke up against, like just like I said, basically, set typed out a nasty tweet. You know,
Mm-hmm.
this is a guy that loves food banks. You know,
Mm.
let's talk about that.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's always singing in the praises of food banks. And I mean, if he's got a good food bank that he lives beside or close by, great. I mean, there are some good food banks out there. I mean,
Mm.
a lot of churches and a lot of charitable organizations put on food banks, but we've got Toronto Dan in chat here,
Hey, Dan.
and I'll speak for you, Dan, and you can pipe in, but Dan always says, show me your receipts, and when he's talked about food banks in the Toronto area, he's got proof that there's a couple of food banks in Toronto that the CEOs of those food banks are getting $250,000 salaries, quarter
Whoa.
of a million dollar salaries
Oh my.
for a food bank. So we're,
Oh,
we're, we're not talking about a church run food bank. We're not talking about a charitable run food bank. We're talking about a food bank that some guy's getting paid
mhm.
big money, $250,000,
Jeez.
$250,000
Imagine how many
for
tummies that could fill.
for a friggin' food bank. And
Wow.
and like, this is another thing where you know our provincial governments and our federal governments tend to think that people with disabilities aren't taxpayers, right? But we are taxpayers.
Most
And
definitely.
and one of the things that I would love to keep telling governments is stop funding food banks. Like, I mean, it's been going on for decades. I remember I
Oh,
remember I remember like Michelle Stillwell. She would love her photo ops, right? She would have her Olympic medal. She'd have an
yeah.
Olympic medal, and she'd be posing at a food bank,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
or at like the Christmas Orphans Fund and stuff like that. It's like,
Hmm.
if you're posing at a food bank and governments are donating at food banks, are like giving money, they're actually giving money to food banks. They're helping fund food banks.
Oh, yeah. Millions of
You're
dollars in some
you're
cases.
you're basically highlighting the fact that you're not that the governments themselves aren't doing enough.
Yeah. How about help your citizens? Like directly
Yeah,
help the individual so that the individual can actually buy the resources that they need, right? Because you
yeah,
go to a food bank, sure, you may get fresh vegetables in certain select food banks. You might get a loaf of bread that you hope that it's fresh, that it hasn't, it's not moldy. Vegetables that are moldy. I mean, some are fresh. I mean, it works good for some people. You get your canned goods, but you're only getting select amount of items.
Yeah.
And in some cases, and in many cases, there are food banks that are turning people away. Why? Because there's not enough on the shelves. Well, now we got a problem of food
Yeah.
insecurity, right?
We
So I
we
would say give people the resources, the money,
yeah.
and they can actually buy for themselves what they need.
We've got a couple of comments, Brent. I just wanted to break
Sure.
in on.
Yeah.
Uh,
I love
we've got
comments.
Dan responded back. He said the food bank in question was the Daily Bread Food Bank. It's in Toronto, and
Yep.
it's the
That name.
CEO is Neil Hetherington. Neil Hetherington is the CEO, and so that's Dan's comment. And then we have a comment from Peter Cunnington. He said, "Do you know how much food disabled people could buy for the money they they gave to this person to run a food bank? Instead of giving money to someone to run a food bank, just give it to the people directly so that they can
Yeah.
go and buy it at a grocery store."
Yeah. Exactly, Peter. What I had
Yeah.
just mentioned. Peter. Neil sent you an email.
Yeah.
Not sure if you got that, but if you could maybe write in the comment section to Neil what day that you're available, and just while I think about that, that would be great.
Yeah, because I don't know if he's having problems with his email, but I did send him an email a
Yeah,
few days ago.
yeah. So Peter, if you saw
So
that, great.
yeah. So
Whenever you're
just
available.
just confirm if you've seen my email, Peter.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, I've gone
So
to like there's in a community that we lived in before. We lived in Nanaimo, British Columbia at one point in time, and there was a church that was in our community that we'd go to in like a soup kitchen. It was great. I mean, I must admit, like it was really great. I mean, we were like really close by. We would just go over there and have lunch, and the church actually put it on for the actual high school. They actually had it on for the high school and people in the community, and so they would cater to the students to come over and have a healthy hot lunch, milk, tea. I mean, you got milk, tea. I mean, coffee, juice.
yeah.
I mean, soup and sandwich. I mean, it was great. And like they would have for breakfast or lunch, and
Yeah.
after they didn't have dinner, but they would have it for 3 days a week. 3 days a week. Then they just started scaling it back after when the students weren't in high school, right? When they break for spring break or summer break, then there would be just I think down. What was it, Sonia? I think they downsized to I think 1 day a week, so that
Mhm.
it wasn't as good, right? But the thing is, the demand, I guess, wasn't there. But there
Yeah.
was, which I would disagree. I mean, the demand is there, but I mean, but more power to them. I mean, they were volunteers though, and very grateful
Yeah.
for
Well,
the energy they put into it. And going with that is there was one of the ladies that was she that helped out at the soup kitchen. She was under an executive that
mhm.
I was a member of at the time. So I got to know who was, and she says, "Hey, I know you," and there was no hard feelings. It was saying, "Well, hey, you're here, but you need help." And so I was there, and so it was great. Like I got to network
Mhm.
with people, and that's how I became more stronger in different areas on advocacy of wanting to see changes happen. And so we had long conversations. She was under my committee too. I had as a committee member. So the
Yeah.
long story short on that, and so that's my stream of advocacy where it's kind of branched from. I mean, it
Mhm.
started way back when where I started advocating about rates and bus passes,
Yeah.
and then it kind of blossomed from that point on. But going through the channels, I remember a conversation, Neil, and our viewers that I had with our former MSDPR minister, Shane Simpson, Honorable Shane Simpson,
Mhm.
way back when, and I would talk to him about advocacy, and there was an advocate who was an anti-advocate who kept lunging, and it really bothered me. I don't know why. It just really
Mhm.
bothered me. Where I said he kept taking slingshots at you, sir, Brent,
Mhm.
and I see the comments. I never commented, as you know,
Yeah.
I never commented, but I've
Yeah.
got thick skin. I go, you may have thick skin and you may say that it doesn't
Yeah.
bother you, but it does bother you because you have feelings, sir. And he
Yeah.
says, it's people like you and so many people in our community that advocate, that teach me as a politician that we must
Mhm.
do better. And I'd always stuck in my mind, Neil, and then we had him on and future shows after
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
he says, don't stop doing what you are strong, your attributes are, and what
Mhm.
your strengths are. I mean, people have strengths and weaknesses. And he says, we can focus on your weakness, but you wouldn't want to focus on your weakness, right? Because it's hard to pull out what your
Yeah.
weaknesses are. You pull out what your strengths are and you go with that. And he says, don't let people like that pull you down. And
Yeah.
I remember the name of the advocate. And I'm not here to throw people's names
Yeah.
under. The name always stuck in my mind. And he says, yeah, don't worry about it. That person obviously is hurting in themselves
Yeah.
for whatever their reason is. And it's people like you that teach me how to be a better politician.
Yeah.
And Shane did learn on ground level. He
He
was
did.
taught on ground
He did.
level of all the inequalities. But here we are. I mean,
Yeah.
going forward, and nothing's changed though, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But Shane, thanks for your advocacy, by the way.
And let's turn a corner. Let's leave food banks behind,
Yep,
and we'll
yep.
we'll we'll, we'll transition. But my final comment on food banks is yes, there are good food banks out there, and this person that wants to advocate strongly for food banks, he always says that he gets like 3 square meals a day. Like they have a soup kitchen there, a community
Well,
kitchen, and if that's the case, that's
that's
great.
good for you. That's
That
good for
that's
you.
great. But typically
Already have that.
it's the food banks that are run by churches, the community soup kitchens that are largely run by volunteers. Those are the good ones. The most of them are are run by CEOs that are making $250,000 salaries,
Hmm.
and that's not good. And I don't want to see our provincial governments dole out money to that. But anyway, let's again talk about this same person, and it's like picking on a person we're not naming. I realize, but but remember on when was it the Oscars a couple years ago when you had Chris Rock and and then you
Oh,
had was it Fresh Prince of Bel Air?
yeah.
Now the name's
Will Smith.
escaping Will Smith, and
Yeah.
he didn't like the joke, and he says, "Get my wife's name out of your bleeping mouth," right? Except he didn't say
Wait.
bleeping,
Yeah.
right? And that's kind of what I
Yeah.
want to say
Ooh, here's a good
secretly.
one.
And I'm not
No.
condoning what Will Smith did or said, because you don't
Yeah.
slap somebody across the face for a joke.
Right.
But what I do want to point to is that notion that here's the same guy that loves food banks. He loves to put your name he loves to put your name in his mouth. Your
Hmm.
name is in his mouth all the time. He
Hmm.
tweets out, like, even if he doesn't directly tag you, even if he
Yes.
doesn't directly tag you, I mean, you're not even following him anymore. But because I mean, you've said before, because now Twitter's got this rule that even if you don't follow somebody, you can still see their posts. And so you'll be on Twitter, and you'll just randomly see this guy's post where he's like throwing you under the bus, saying,
Yeah, without typing my name in. Yeah.
without typing your name, he's like, "How dare this Brent go on a train trip and then say, he doesn't have enough money for groceries? How
Yeah.
dare he?
Yeah.
How
And, and,
dare
and,
he?"
and he goes on social media and begs and pleads for cash, saying, please help me. Please help me.
Yeah.
Little FYI to you there, bud. Right? Little FYI. Now, if you listen earlier in the podcast where I said assume, Now, what does assume mean? You make an ass out of you and me. You try to make an ass out of me, but it's not working. You know why? I'll tell you
Yeah.
why. Because you assumed that I spent thousands of dollars on a train trip to travel across Canada
Yeah.
and the USA on a train. You assumed that I got donations from people that wanted to help me. You assumed that. You assumed that from day one.
Yeah.
So you want to try and throw me under the bus, bud? I'll throw you under the bus right now. And what I'm going to say to you is that was actually given to me as a gift. And
Yeah.
so what am I going to do? Go back to that anonymous person and say, "Hey, I'm actually hurting financially right now. Can you trade that in for cash for me? Because I want to buy groceries." Do you know what that would mean to that person? That would be a slap in their face.
Yeah.
That would be a slap in their face saying, you're not actually not wanting to accept something that I want to offer you as a gift. And you know why the person actually did that for me there, bud? Okay. I'm going to let you really know because the person really loves our show, our advocacy, what we do on the PWD Allies podcast. Okay. And they actually love my advocacy and what I do of bringing Canadians together. Okay. People that have no fault of their own. They're either born with a disability, they acquire disabilities in their life as they go through life's journeys. You could get hit by a car. You could be walking across a crosswalk. You could get hurt on the job. That's right. Get hurt on the
Yeah.
job. So you put all your taxes in, and you pay CPP, you pay your EI, all your deductions, and guess what? You get injured. And some people get permanently injured in a case where now they've got multiple disabilities, no fault of their own, and now they end up on provincial disability or federal disability, whichever, or territorial disability. You name it. There's so many variables, so yeah, it's too much for to kind of focus on. But to assume that I spent thousands of dollars. Where did I get thousands of dollars from? What, from
Yeah.
donations? I mean, oh, okay. Oh, $25 here, $50 there. You know how many freaking years that would take to try and save up that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And by the way, it actually was actually given to me as a gift. So you know what? You need to keep your mouth shut. Just
Yeah.
shut your trap, okay? And
Yeah.
stay in your own lane. If
Yeah.
I actually need help, and like every other disabled person across Canada, and also just to let you know there, bud, there are people that are not disabled that have family with children. They're actually reaching out for help. There are people now have lost their jobs. They worked in the auto industry. They have now lost their jobs. There's people who have worked on in other different industries that have lost their jobs, very good paying jobs, high mortgages, high rents.
Yeah.
Now they're homeless. They have no income. And for you to go and start vomiting my name without actually even saying my name on there, I came
His name
across.
is
Yeah,
always or sorry, your name is always in his mouth,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Always in his mouth. Yeah.
Just a word of advice, bud. Just back off. Okay.
Yeah.
Keep your opinions to yourself. Okay. But you envy that you wanted to do the trip. Hey, come along with me. Come along with me. Buy me another train ticket. Hey,
Yeah.
I tell you, you ever watch that one where it's called Throw Mama from the Train? Yeah. Well, you keep going. You're going to get thrown from the train. Okay.
Well,
Anyway,
and I wanted to say as well,
so
um,
disrespectful. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
what
Sorry.
I wanted to say as well, I mean, we know too that this same person gets an RGI unit. And
Oh,
again, RGI units are rent geared to
wrong.
income housing.
Yeah.
Rent geared to income housing, right?
Yeah.
So
Not.
so you know that this person is probably saving at least $1,000 a month on his rent costs.
Oh
Like
yeah.
like minimum. He's saving at least $1,000 rent every month.
Yeah. That's like
And
$12,000 a year. I mean, wow.
yeah,
That'd be
and
nice.
and I mean that would be nice, right? So
Because you,
he he
yeah.
he he has that luxury. He has that luxury. So he's got an RGI unit, but he's like, well, I've got my RGI unit. Who cares about Brent, who's living
Mhm.
in market value housing? Who
Yeah.
cares about Brent? He needs to budget better. I've got my RGI unit, so I'm saving $1,000 a month
Yeah.
on my rent costs. But
So 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 here's the thing
Brent
on
and Son, you need to budget better.
I actually talked to an equivalent in British Columbia there, bud, to the person that we're referring to. So, I talked to an equivalent in British Columbia to an RGI provider. Okay, you have to be homeless. You have to be fleeing violence. Your place has to be sold or condemned. Yeah, it has to be uninhabitable. You can't just decide, well, you know what? I want to have an RGI unit versus paying market rent. It doesn't work that way. You have to be homeless.
Yeah.
And the person proved that theory to me. And actually, I heard that from a minister too, just so everybody knows. A minister actually confirmed that with me. Sadly, those are the policies. You
Yeah.
can't just go and say, yeah, I want RGI. I've been advocating, and I actually said that if you go back in the videos, everyone, and you go back to the one show that we had on here with Minister Malcolmson, and I actually had recommended that PWD that live in market housing have the same RGI that's
Yeah.
extended that are given to seniors who can actually still live in their own homes. They don't have to move
Yeah.
into BC housing. They can still live in their own homes. PWD who live in who pay market housing and have that same privilege. Because right now, as it stands, who PWD who pay market rent, they do not qualify. You know why they don't qualify for RGI housing? Because they get the shelter portion. If
Yeah.
that word shelter wasn't there, we could now
Yeah.
qualify. And that again, that's a policy decision by the provincial government.
Well,
I would say
well,
remove barriers.
yeah. And so let's talk about hard numbers here, Brent. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been guilty, I guess, of saying before I've said 12 to 13% of PWD only get RGI or subsidized rents. And the reason I came up with 12 to 13%, the reason why is because I had heard or I had researched and found that it said that 26% roughly get on provincial welfare. That's what I read. I said it said 26% on provincial welfare get the rent subsidies, and so roughly 75% do not. And
That's right.
and so that's why I split it down the middle, because we all know that welfare is split between just regular welfare, and you got so 50% on regular welfare and then 50% are on PWD. So that's why I
Mhm.
divided that 26% into like half. So I thought 12 to 13%. But what it actually was, and we had Jeff on recently, and he corrected me, and he said, yes, Neil, you're right. It actually is 26% of all PWD.
That live in
26%,
that live in subsidized housing. Yeah.
26% of all PWD get subsidized housing. So here's this guy that's crapping on you for not budgeting better, Brent. That
Hmm.
he's one of the lucky ones. He's one of the 26% that
Hmm.
that gets subsidized rents, gets an RGI unit, and so he's got $1,000 to spare every month. But then he craps all over you and says, "Well, Brent, you need to budget better," you know.
Yeah. Well,
And
he would be on me saying that. Oh, I say, well, the supports need to be increased. He goes, no, 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 they don't need to be increased, right? He said the shelter needs to be increased. But
yeah,
here's the argument that the individual would always have is saying, oh, I said, well, we need to have both increased. He goes,
just
no,
go to
because
a food bank. Just go to a food bank.
well, they're saying, well, if they don't have a fixed address, why should they get, why should they get their shelter portion?
Yeah,
Everyone deserves to have shelter. If high market rent, if that's all they can afford, and saying, well, hey, I've only got this much left in my budget. Can I, at least pay something? I always say, get people housed, right? Get people housed. I
well,
mean, yeah,
yeah, and you know why he's saying that, Brent? You know why he's saying all that is because he's already got his RGI.
yeah,
He's already got his RGI, so he's sitting pretty going, well, I'm taken care of. I'm
yeah.
taken care of. I don't need to worry about myself. Who
But the way
cares?
but the way I look at it is that he's pinning disabled against disabled.
Exactly.
And I look at it is Sure, everyone. I mean, give everyone RGI under a certain tax bracket. And for PWD, and if they have extra money and they allocate it however they want to allocate it for, they want to go away somewhere, they go away somewhere. I mean,
Yeah.
if they're given as a family gift, or you save up for it.
Yeah.
I mean, GSTs, Christmas time, Easter time,
Yeah.
whatever it may be. Maybe I don't know. Maybe your neighbor says, "Hey, you know what? I have some tickets here. I can't go. Do you want them?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and so what? Your neighbor gives you a ticket. Now imagine a neighbor gives you a ticket and says, I can't go. I've got family arrangements, but I can actually transfer it into your name. And what are you going to do? Can I have the cash instead of the ticket so I can go and
Yeah.
buy food? Or do you go and take that ticket? I think anyone would probably say, well, that's really generous of that person to do that. Well, that's what happened to us. And
Yeah.
I am forever grateful. And you just, we never found out who that was. Yeah, there was a few dollars that we had saved up for so we could buy some souvenirs and buy some extra food while we were on our trip. Great, right? And I think most people are like, okay, yeah, whatever, that's fine.
Well,
But for us to turn around and actually say, no, whoever you are, I want the cash. Like
yeah,
slap in the person's face.
there's a couple of things I want to get to before we end
Yeah,
the podcast part. One of the things before I say my comment though is I wanted to get to back to
yeah.
Dan's comment in chat. He says I have an RGI unit too, which I knew about already, and he says exactly the reason I give back to the community
Hmm.
as I do is because an RGI unit is a necessity of life for me, and I respect the community for contributing to me to be able to survive. So there you go. Dan gets
Yeah,
it. Dan gets it, right? And I just wanted to finish off like I grew up, like I'm gonna date myself, but I had, very traditional grandparents, like my on my dad's side and my mom's side, and one of the things both of them would say, both sets of parents would say, or grandparents would say, is, there used to be a very popular saying that said, "There, but by the grace of God go I." There, but by the grace of God go. I mean, I would hear that all the time as a kid,
I remember hearing that my
all the time as a kid,
phrase.
even before I could call myself a Christian, I would hear that a lot. There,
Mhm.
but by the grace of God go I. So, here you have this guy that's got an RGI unit. Now, I'm not talking about you, Dan. We're talking about the guy
Yeah.
that's got Brent's name in his mouth. So you've got this guy that's got an RGI unit that obviously doesn't appreciate the fact that he's got an RGI unit. He just likes the fact that he's got it, and
Mhm.
he just thinks everybody else needs to budget better. He gaslights everybody else.
Yeah, he's just jealous that I was able to be very fortunate to take a journey. Would I do that journey again? Oh, absolutely. If I ever had that opportunity of doing that trip again, I would definitely do that. It was very memorable. There was so many things, Neil, as people were following along my video. I mean, we were so excited to do that journey. It was like one of those ones where a child would say, "I want to go to Disneyland." That excitement, like it was just that journey. I thought, wow, like I'm actually going. When I had the tickets in my hand, I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is real! Like we're actually going to go and do this." And I still remember the first journey where we went, and when we first started the segment, and I did the recording at the beginning of the video. I had to go back and actually snap that because I was so excited. And I think, oh, I almost forgot to do something, and that was the introduction of the video. I had to scramble out there in a hurry, and oh, hi everyone, and I'm standing in front of the train station because I was so excited. And what happened with all the rigmarole was I almost lost my suitcase. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I talked about that because I was trying to pull some Sonia's suitcase and trying to pull my suitcase at the same time. We had so much stuff to carry. And I thought my suitcase was beside me, but it wasn't. It was left on the platform, but I had grabbed hers and I had turned my back because somebody said, well, enjoy your trip. Well, I got distracted and turned around, talked to that person, and then walked away. And my suitcase was still sitting there on the platform for where a bus dropped us off on the concourse. But it was the other train company who for security reasons, for safety reasons, they had taken my suitcase and put it away and tucked it away, but they didn't, that train company, Amtrak, didn't communicate with Via Rail. It didn't say, by the way, we have some unknown customer suitcase here. And so I got there, no, I came here with my suitcase. So, so they got surveillance camera, CCTV, zoomed in. Sir, it actually didn't happen. Well, I thought I did have it because I was pulling so many things. And so anyway, long story short was that's how our journey started. I was so excited that, I mean, as you're going along, you don't want to forget anything. And with somebody thumping on me, like we went through and I remember uploading all our video segments. So as we were going along, there was days, everyone, where there was a couple days here and there where there was no signal.
Yeah.
And that was okay. Like I was okay with that. No technology, no nothing. Talking to people on the train about advocacy wise. And I got to know some people on there who I never even thought that that they knew, different journalists, reporters. They knew our former premier. One was really good friends with him. And I said, yeah, I said, you know, and I said, I'm really good friends with the premier too. And I'm like, oh my God, you know the premier? Yeah, I am. You know, I do. And anyway, long story short was the journey went through. And so we were so excited. We got back. And as soon as I got back, I got this vomiting all over social media of some person jealous that I was able to do a trip that was granted to me from some person. And you know, it just, to me, I just find it so disrespectful. And this whole segment's not about me to vomit on this person. All I'm trying to do is educate the person that understand that if you are in that same situation, would you accept a gift? Okay, would you accept that gift? Anyone, would you accept a gift and say, thanks, but can you give me the cash instead because I want to actually buy monthly groceries for myself? Or would you say, no, I'm going to take that, but I still need help when I get back? I think people would probably look at that. But with that said, I'm going to quickly mention one thing though, Neil, and to our audience, is that if I was in an RGI right now and I was $1,000 less on my rent right now, and I saved up $12,000 in a year, you know what I would do for the disability community across Canada? And I'm going to say this out to everybody. I would actually help people. Not a lot, because I mean, you know, have to, you know, there's over 1.5
even $12,000 doesn't really help that much.
But I mean, there's over 1.5 million disabled people in Canada. But if I saw somebody who was struggling and they needed help, I wouldn't think twice. I would be like, hey, you know, here's $50 or 25, or if you know.
And this goes back to the first point made on the show is like what true advocacy is, what true disability advocacy is lifting other advocates up. Like again, we have Toronto Dan and Chad here, and I mean, like Dan put his name in for city council. He ran for city council on the last election in Toronto, and I mean, like you and I were excited about it. Like we want to celebrate, we want to champion things like that. So when Dan comes on the podcast to talk about, you know, hey, I'm running for city council, isn't this great? It's like, yes, let's celebrate that. And when you know, and when Jeff comes on and talks about his no more poverty rally, yes, let's celebrate that. When Tom Poxon wants to come on and talk about his UBI, yes, let's talk about that. You know, when we have MJ on, when MJ wants to talk about, yes, let's talk about that. Like we're all about like amplifying and uplifting voices, right? And
that's what we like to do, is we like to amplify people's voices, their lived experience stories, and what do they like ideas, and what do they see that they need to see change? What do they want to see changed in their communities and across the country? And with that, it's kind of blending exactly what was on my mind. Is that I think back of when I was just a little toddler, my mom would tell me stories, and my mom actually grew up in the deep recession, It was the tail end of the Deep Depression. Her mother taught her a lot about the Deep Depression, and it was not good. Everyone, my mom had gone through the Second World War, and she talked to me about food banks. Like, and I said, like, 'cause I started hearing the word food banks, and
Hmm.
she said food banks were only supposed to be a temporary measure.
Yeah.
There were soup kitchens, and then she said as food banks evolved a little bit here and there, and my mom used to get a hamper like every Christmas. She would apply for a hamper, and they would have a hamper delivered to her, and that was great. And I said, well, why are you getting like this box? There was like a couple boxes, and there was gifts and food and canned goods. She says it's because people that are on very low income, they apply for these things, and it's the generosity, Brent. She says of the community, and that's what they do. They bring people together. And I said, oh, well, how come you're not making enough on your job, Mom? And I remember asking these questions. She goes, because that's what my wage is.
Yeah.
I only take what my wage is. I can't just go to my boss and say, "Can you give me more money because I need to buy more?" So my mom would only live with whatever she could do for us, right? And
Yeah.
my mom actually brought my brother and I up as a single mother because my father left when I was just a child. My mom kicked him out because he was an alcoholic, and she didn't want my brother and me to grow up to be around that abuse.
Hmm.
Um, he abused my mom. I'm not going to get into a long story, but I still have flashbacks, and I think back when I was a child, what I remember, and that would never go away. I've learned to come to grips in life and accept the fact that my mom did what she could do for me, and I will always forever be grateful for everything that she's done for me. She taught me to be a great advocate for who I am now. She said people will be drawn to you, Brent, in one way or another, just for who you are. Don't change you for who you are. You are who you are. Don't try to pretend that you're somebody that you're not,
Hmm.
because if you truly do that, then you're not being truthful to yourself. And so for me, life's journeys, right? I try to cater to people in different ways, the best way I can. But she's taught me to be strong and to stand up for what I believe in. And that's where my advocacy shines, right? In different ways. Am I learning more? Oh, absolutely. People are probably saying, what are you learning? I'm learning from you all. I'm learning from
Yeah.
you all in different ways, and that's the way of us shaping our channel. I'm always
Well,
open to ideas of how to shape our channel in different ways, and we will take into consideration of different things.
one of the things we haven't touched on yet, and we don't have to spend a lot of time on it, like maybe 30 seconds to a minute if you want.
Sure, covered.
But getting back to the train trip again,
Yeah,
uh,
abstract.
let's talk about one of the big reasons uh, why why you take trips. I mean, we don't really talk about it enough, maybe on this podcast, and we maybe should. Mental health and well-being. That's
Yeah,
huge. Mental health and well-being. Let's let's talk about is you know there was a time not too long ago when you had a friend that all of a sudden didn't become a friend anymore because he kind of did the same thing that this guy about food banks is doing, where he's basically gaslighting you as a friend and saying, well, Brent, you just have to know how to budget better. You have to know how to spend your money better. And why don't you just go work? Why don't you just go work? Because you can still work, right? All this kind of stuff, right? So like gaslighting you all the time, and it's like, well, why are you offended at why are you offended at what I'm talking about? And so
okay.
so there was all that going on, right? And then he started to harass you with phone calls,
Hmm.
and while all this is going on, I mean, of course, you know, Sonia lives with you too. So you're stressed. Like whenever you have a partner, your stress becomes your partner's stress, and you build on each other's stresses, right? I mean, all of a sudden your stress spills over to Sonia's, and then her anxiety and stress builds up, and then her anxiety spills over to you, and it becomes a big mess, right?
Yeah.
So all of this mess was going on again because you had somebody gaslighting you, some some supposed friend was gaslighting you, saying, "Well, Brett, you just have to try better. You have to try harder. You have to work. You have to work and earn money and budget better. And why can't you survive on $1,500 a month? You
Yeah.
know?"
So what
And,
I'll chime in there and I'll just kind of break down the
yeah.
little syllables on that part. Um, so the work that I used to be able to do, I can't do anymore physically and mentally. Well, physically anyway. On some of this stuff I used to be able to do. Um, when a person injures themselves, permanently injures themselves and you damage your vertebrae on different discs, right? I mean, people who have gone through that, they would know what I'm talking about, right? You have to be careful. You have to be really, really careful in life. And going through physiotherapy, chiropractic treatment, snapping your back into place. It's not exactly the best situation to go through and go through treatment, right? I had the repercussion. I had to go back, and because I had the mindset of no, no, I'm just going to ignore the doctor. I'm going to go back and I'm going to keep doing the same thing again. And guess what happens? I had a relapse. I had to go back and have more treatment, which then delayed it. Then I got in trouble by the WCB for not complying and actually going back and trying to do the same thing again, knowing that I injured myself.
Mhm.
So anyway, long story short was a settlement was done. EI was done. Didn't know that I even qualified for a section under there, but I qualified for that too. And then I had the government trying to claw back all that income off me. Anyway, under a subsection under it, under the provisions under it, where I was exempt. I didn't even know this stuff. The doctor helped me with that. EI even helped me with that because provincial says no, we're going to claw this off. But there's
Yeah.
a section under there which the government didn't even know their own work. Which, oh, how do you know that? Well, they go to another page. They said, flip the
Right.
page. Oh, there it is. Well, so anyway,
Wow.
pain and suffering, what I had to go through. And so I healed myself. Every so often, I get reminded, my back reminds me every so often, hi, do you remember me? Years
Yeah.
ago, remember? Yeah, as we get older, guess what? It's like disabilities don't go away. You know what you can and can't do, like for the person within themselves,
Mhm.
but for someone to tell me that, oh well, I used to work with you, and I know what you're capable of doing. Well, what you were, yeah, past tense were, and what you can
Mhm.
do. There's a lot of things I would love to do.
I was able to do a ton when I was younger. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. And I look
Yeah.
back at my life and say, wow, I did all these things, all these different types of works and all these experiences. And would I love to go and do them again? Well, you learn from different things that what work and what don't work, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I would love to go and do. Do I love to be on legislated poverty, disability supports? Hell, if I was able to go and do what I used to go and do for work, I would be doing that full time right now.
Yeah.
And so
We
I advocate to push forward, but had somebody to tell me that, oh, that yeah, you're waiting on government to raise the rates and you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
Why vote for a certain party because they don't care and no party cares, Brent. So just give it up
Yeah.
already. And I'm like,
I,
and wow, and
yeah.
I get thrown under the bus.
Yeah. I just wanted to jump in quickly, Brent. Maybe Dan's already gone because he says that he has to run. He's gonna go. Uh, but Dan just made a clarifying comment. And he said, at least this is how it works in Toronto. He says, if you get an RGI unit in Toronto and you're on assistance, for him, he won't be saving $1,000 a month because they adjust the rest of your income. So
Yeah.
that's how it works on ODSP. Okay,
Okay.
Dan says he's still here, so that's good. So
Okay.
I'm just running through your clarification comment, Dan. So in Toronto on ODSP, if you get an RGI unit, they adjust the rest of your income. I just wanted to clarify that
Yeah.
in BC here, that's not how it works. Is that they have the shelter portion of 500 bucks, and then they have the other assistance part of your groceries and
Support.
whatever
Yeah.
else.
Support, yeah.
which is around $1,000, right? So whether if you get your RGI unit that's at $500, you still get that $1,000 to pay for groceries and to pay for utilities here in BC at least. That's how it works in BC.
Yeah,
So
but there's the other part too, Dan. Just to let you know that. So under BC housing, like here, now I talked to my corporate manager too, and which I didn't find this out. So it did kind of echo exactly what BC housing's saying, the criteria. So I was able to find this part out, which did clarify it. Which is again, I think the system is so broken because if okay, so say I wanted RGI housing, right? I put my name on a list and I want RGI housing. And I was by myself, but I knew somebody else that, say, a neighbor of mine who wanted RGI, can't afford market rent, but they're say they're homeless or maybe they're living at someone's place so that they're not homeless. They're actually just staying somewhere, staying sheltered. But they say, hey, Brent, you're pretty cool. Can I, I've maybe known the person for say, I don't know, 40 years or something. I'll just make up a magic number. But we've just known each other, but they say, hey, can we move? Like, can we move to an RGI? According to the government, yes, you can move in there. You need to be under one file, one income. That means you both get penalized, even though you're not in a relationship, but you know each other. You're on one file, so you get less money. You actually it gets clawed off you. So now you got one income. Cost of living has gone down. So my point is to everybody is that when the government says, well, we've raised the rates 5 times for PWD in BC. It wasn't 5 times, but whatever. They haven't raised our support portion in 4 years. Shelter portion hasn't been raised in 2 years. So it's
and it's not indexed to inflation either.
And it's not indexed to inflation. So your cost of living, food inflation has gone way up. So my point is that the government will say, well, you can have RGI or you can keep paying market rent and high cost of living, pinning disabled against disabled. So I always say, if you raise the rates, okay, people in RGI, yes, they deserve to have a good income too. So it's like people in market housing, they don't get to have, so have and have nots. I always say it's like when the government chose to give people PWD in market housing 125 increase 2 years ago, the ones in subsidized housing got no increase. Why? I mean, it should have, and that, again, that's a divide. I think people in RGI or subsidized housing, whatever you want to call it, they should have got that too, because their cost of living hasn't gone down. I know that there are individuals that are in subsidized housing that they're struggling. They can't even make it through from check to check. We've had in BC, we've had two 5-week months in a row. 2 5-week months in a row. Thank gosh for help from the disability community, like for allies out there, because I don't know what I would do. Still, like, there's another 12 days to go, and I look at the calendar each day. 12 more days until next check day. Doesn't mean that I get extra money. It just means that I can now to go and pay my rent. I got a rent increase, no increase in the government to offset that cost. So you got to cut back, right? And so it's brutal.
And so this guy that always has your name in his mouth. Let's just finish with this. I mean, his solution is, everybody just go to a food bank. What he doesn't realize is, again, food banks we're supposed to be a temporary wartime measure. That's number one, and food banks are a form of mutual aid. They are a form of mutual aid. So the fact that he craps all over mutual aid, He says, how dare people, have lists, have Amazon lists? How dare people do that? But yet, like that's what food banks are. They are a form of mutual aid, and yet this person craps all over them. So anyway, I just wanted to finish off by saying, let's continue to amplify all the good advocates out there. Like again, let's celebrate the fact that Dan, put his name in for city council. Let's celebrate when Tom comes on and talks about UBI. Let's celebrate when Jeff comes on and talks about no more disability poverty rallies. Let's celebrate all of that, and let's put an end to all this anti-advocate
And MJ.
crap where all these anti-advocate people that just want to like crap on all of us for trying to do good work. They just want to crap on everything and gaslight everything. I mean, it's not productive. It's not productive. We got to celebrate and amplify the people that are really trying hard and not try to silence and crap on other advocates that are doing good work.
I want to just I'll throw a comment in there and just echo exactly what you've mentioned, Neil. There's a lot of great advocates out there. There's a lot of great allies out there who are learning from the advocates that the system is deliberately broken and how to hold the politicians that are in government accountable to fix the policies that are deliberately broken. They're mean-spirited policies that were written way back when, and we're now in a era that they need to be modernized. They need to be completely rebuilt. I mean, and if you need help, government, to how to rebuild these policies, reach out to me. I can actually teach you. I know DOS way back when, people who DOS. I mean, and those are the systems that they use. Everyone, they use DOS. I mean, they're
Mhm.
batch files. And I mean, I used to have a BBS at one time. I used to build a BBS. I used to build computers, tear them apart, put them back together just for fun of it, just for the hell of it.
Me too.
Oh,
Me
oh,
too.
oh. It's like, oh, my disk drive's grinding away. Oh, shit. What did I do? Oh, that doesn't smell very good. Oh, no, I had it too close to the hard drive. Oh, well, I learned pretty quick, right? I learned to do or not to do, right? I overheated. I overclocked it too. But why? Because I wanted to be faster,
Yeah.
bigger, faster. So I overclocked my computer. Yeah, and I went to go and have it serviced, but I forgot to actually turn back the setting on that. And the computer shop looked, what the hell are you doing, Brent? This thing's gonna blow up. Well, let's see. Sorry, but I guess I wanted something to be faster so that it could process information out to help. And I would have it sending out all sorts of news feeds. I would have it sending out like soap operas, news feeds, sports, you name it.
Mhm.
People would subscribe to it all. I loved that way back before the internet came out, and that was kind of how my advocacy on that part was to help people. And so to have somebody going forward in life, and just because to find somebody thinking, oh, this guy's vulnerable, oh, he's not going to stand up, he's not going to say how he feels. To me, you're just exposing out all the inequalities, sir,
Yeah.
out there of why disabled should not be the way that you are, right? There are great advocates out there, and so I'm not going to say different names, but I hear you, the great ones. I hear you.
Yeah.
I see you. I will retweet your posts. I will like your posts. And I'm sorry, like I'll apologize. And if people say, Brent, you probably don't need to apologize. And yeah, I probably don't need to apologize. But there are so many advocates out there or people needing help. And I try my best to try to retweet as much as I can on the news feeds. But
Mhm.
it's really hard to keep up with. And if
Yeah.
I haven't retweeted it, it doesn't mean that I don't care less to not retweet it. And I'll say, please help so and so because they need help. And there's another individual on there right now that's helping the disability community out there try to amplify the voices that are not being heard. There's so many people try to help in different ways, and if you can help a disabled person in the disability community across Canada or anywhere that you see that need help, a mutual aid, maybe they have a number sign mutual aid tag beside their name, or maybe not. Or if you know that they just need a little hands up because they're suffering, reach out as an ally. As a disabled person, but also as an ally to other people. Like I'm an ally to other people too, and that's why
Mhm.
this show is formed as disabilities and their allies, right? Because we're all together in one way or another. We have to not do so much infighting. Um,
Yeah.
and I mean, and the government has created this disaster, the CDB. I'm not even going to go there on today's show because it's not about CDB. It's all about
I'm sure there's some people in government, whether it's federal or provincial, every time they check Twitter, they say, well, I wonder which advocates are tearing down other advocates. Like
Yeah.
some of them probably love it. They're
Oh,
like,
they probably love
oh,
it. They just
they're like, well, great. These disability advocates are fighting against each other. This is great.
yeah.
It takes the heat off us.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
exactly. They'll say, "Hey, so and so is, having fun that way." So yeah, let's get their popcorn out and they'll watch it. Well,
yeah,
you know what? The politicians that may look at that, they could be disabled too. They could be
yeah.
disabled and they have a disability. Maybe it hasn't been diagnosed,
Hmm.
right? But you're protected. Like you politicians are protected, and I mean, nobody's not prone to getting a disability. That's
Yeah,
my point of the matter is that accept the person for who they are, not judge them.
hmm,
And I'm going to do a show about that. I'm glad that we did touch on that, Neil. And today's show is just a little bit longer than it normally is, but um, I am who I am. I don't change who I am. My disabilities are how I am who I am. Like I don't know anything different. As I get older, I get more disabilities. Some haven't been diagnosed. I mean, do you want to have all these subsidies given to you that you could apply for from the government? Nutritional supplements, vitamin supplements. You have to have conditions to get all these different supplements. And I
hmm.
said that at the rally in Victoria in front of the legislature just recently. If people go back and they can actually watch that one where it says rally, is what was it called? It's End Disabled Poverty in British Columbia.
Yeah,
And I gave a speech in there and I said, well, if people can choose between having a bus pass and not having a bus pass, as an example, and what are you going to do? Go and buy a pizza? I said, you need to, I said, everyone loves pizza, right?
hmm,
Well, now you go without your transportation. So imagine having to choose, right? And it's like having to choose between paying rent, putting food on the table, paying a bill, putting food on the
hmm,
table. You have a choice. It shouldn't be that way. And that,
hmm.
so to me, I need to advocate even more stronger and saying to the government, like, we need immediate action, not there's more to do, there's more to do, kick the can down the road,
Yeah,
give it to another government to deal with.
yeah.
And we know that another government is going to say, well, where did they leave off? Oh, look at the history books. Oh, okay. So
Well,
now,
again, let's go back to the top of the show where I threw a bouquet at David Eby for reversing the decision on the Vancouver Children's Hospital. I mean, I honestly love throwing bouquets. I want to throw more bouquets.
yeah,
So if David Eby wants to keep doing good things, if David Eby wants to keep doing good things and making the good choices and making the right decisions, I'll keep throwing bouquets at him. Like I want to do that.
yeah, me
So
too.
and that's what disability advocacy is too, is throwing bouquets at other advocates and saying, "Well done, great work,
Yeah,
keep doing it." Like throwing bouquets and like, "Well
absolutely.
done, well done, well done." And I want to do the same thing for government. I want to say, "Well done, throw bouquet, throw bouquet." You
And
know,
the one thing that I would love to say to that person that we were focusing today's show on is, what would have been nice, sir. I'll just say, sir, is that you must have had a great trip. Congratulations. I'm glad you enjoyed the trip. Um,
yeah, he could have
that's
said
it.
that. He
And
could have
that,
said that.
and that would have been, I would have said, well, thank you. You know what I would have said in response? Thank you.
Hmm.
And I would have left it at that. But no, you had to go and rip through and basically vomit down. And you know what the impact had on me? The impact had on me a whole ripple effect throughout my life in many ways where I lost two friends, everyone. I lost
Hmm.
two friends who I thought that I knew for many years. People
Hmm.
don't know that, do you? I lost two friends. At the same time that this person was vomiting all over,
Yeah,
I was going through that in my personal life
yeah.
at the same time. And Neil had just described exactly, well, Brent, you used to be able to do this and do that. And oh,
Hmm.
don't count on the government to raise the rates because and I was going through all that behind the scenes, right? At the same time as this person was vomiting all over me, which then
Hmm.
I had donors. I had a donor that was helping me, everyone too. Every so
Hmm.
often, hey, here's a few
And
bucks.
she became disabled. She became
And she
disabled.
became disabled.
Yeah.
I was so grateful. And that person who knew somebody else, and I found out that the other person had, I guess it was like a network, then the other person had helped and some other disabled people in Canada. And I had found out that she was helping, the one who was helping me the odd time was
Mhm.
helping other people across Canada.
Paying it
And so,
forward.
yeah, and I thank that person.
Yeah.
Now that person dropped off because that person's disabled. I had one other lady who, when I first moved to Victoria, she helped me a few times, and she had reached out to me. And you know what? She said to me, Brent, I'm sorry, I am not going to be able to help you going forward because there was one individual that is on social media that actually said that you had gone on a train trip. Well, I mean, congratulations on that, and I actually emphasized that today. That
Mhm.
be grateful for the anonymous person, okay, that actually had helped you with that. You don't go ahead and think to go and say, well, can I get cash for that? Okay, and
Mhm.
that was the point, was is that I can't help you going forward because this person has now ruined help for other disabled people. So thank you, sir, that
Yeah.
you actually cause harm to other people. Okay,
You're
I am
burning
really,
you're burning down other advocacy.
you're
You're
burning down
burning down other advocacy.
other donors
Like
who
the
are
like the
out there
thumbnail. You're burning down other advocacy.
to
Yeah.
actually help people. Now that person did help me after, okay, and that she unfortunately, she retired. She was not able to help me any longer. She then understood what was going on, and I explained to her. I said, "It's like if somebody had reached out and said, you know what, I'm going to treat you to a movie. Here's some movie tickets, okay." And actually, I had somebody actually do that before. They actually had bought me some movie tickets one time. And what do I do? Turn around. Can I get the cash for that as movie tickets instead?
Well,
Or
well,
or
let,
go
let's
find the back and cash them in?
let's make it let's make a simple analogy, Brent.
Yeah,
Like with Christmas, right?
yeah.
Like
And I,
I love Christmas. I love giving gifts. I love the thought that goes behind. Like I
mhm.
want to take the time to think, what would that person really like and really appreciate? Like I want to go out of my way to try to find like what's that one thing that that person really like. I'm not thinking about I'll just give that person cash or I'll just give that
Yeah.
person a gift card because that's like that doesn't show thought, that doesn't show care, that doesn't
Mhm.
show that you really love that person, that you really thought about, that you really thought. Like, can you imagine if everybody at Christmas time just said, well, just give me cash, just give me a gift card. I mean, I know the gift cards exist now, they're
Yeah.
they're all the rage, but I still, if I can avoid it, I don't like just giving cash. I don't want to just give a gift card, even though gift cards are great. Like again, I'm not gonna crap all
Yeah.
over gift cards,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, like, the whole point of like things like birthdays and Christmas is to really put some thought into it. And so, like, what gift can I do to really bless somebody? Like,
Mhm.
and so that trip that you received was a blessing because somebody said, I really know that Brent really loves train trips, and I'm gonna bless him with a train trip. I'm gonna bless him with a train trip because I don't want to just give money. I want to put my heart into it. I want to put some thought into it. I want to show that I cared enough to really think about it and really help Brent and give him something that he's really going to appreciate, not just money, but an experience that he's really gonna value and appreciate for years to come,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, I had a person that helped me. Again, not exposing out the person's name, but was helping me out every couple 2 3 months, and would and ongoing. And it was nice. Like it was like very thoughtful. Again, that person became disabled. Was not able to continue on financially, which I can understand. And now that person's actually on government assistance.
Mhm.
Um, Person was supposed to retire, but as she then got injured, and so had to take an early retirement. Is now actually on government assistance. Okay,
Mhm.
this same person had helped me, and I was communicating with this person, and it really made a huge difference in our lives, like mentally, physically. Like it affected me physically when this person dropped off. because I was not able to start buying all the healthy things that I needed. I was trying to, I mean, and I mean, I'm grateful that the person was helping. I mean, again, the government should be taking care of their own citizens, and it's like going to a food bank. But this person would just say, like, let me know what you need for your household, and it was so helpful. And I thought, okay, great. The government's now gonna raise our rates. They're gonna raise, at least not maybe up to the poverty line, which they should, because nobody should be living below the poverty line. But going 4 years without no increase, the 2 years no shelter increase, cost of living up, rent increase up. Anyway, this person was helping out and when they could. And I was like Sonia and myself, we were beyond grateful. So I would communicate with this person and I said, well, look, we're going to be going on a train trip. And the response was, congratulations, have a great time. I said, yeah, I'm sure I'm going to get blowback. I said, from an individual that, oh, how dare you, Brent and Sonia, go on a train trip, because then, you're going to ask for help when you get back. And you know what? I had said that. And the person said, oh, probably, because the person's jealous and is going to try and throw you under the bus to make you look bad. And this was coming from a freaking donor, buddy.
Yeah.
This was coming from a donor who was helping me. Okay, so and I said, well, I was given a trip by an anonymous person, and this person was beyond so happy for us. And I said, why I was, and everyone, why I was so happy too? Not just because the person helped me, anonymous person helped me, was I also said that when I was a child, I remember the first time I went on a train. My dad actually worked for the actual rail company. He actually worked for CN, and he actually worked in Bombardier. He actually worked for Bombardier. Yeah, he actually worked on building planes too. Like, he worked in the plant that actually had all the supplies on building all these things, engines. He worked on that. He worked on the trains. So he got a rail pass. He was granted a rail pass. So he actually was in partnership with Via Rail way back when too, because he actually worked on their trains. So when I was a little child, I got to go on the train. And when I took a tour through, that one part where I went through the Prestige area, I walked through.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a child, just vaguely remember. And I thought, wait a minute. When I went through, I thought, oh my God, I remember this now. I had that accommodation, I guess. I don't remember. But yeah, it's not worth it. I mean, Via Rail, no, nothing against you, but the price is not worth Prestige. Like, if people can afford $12,000 for a freaking room on Via Rail for Prestige, I'm not kidding. It can go up to 12,000. Even the Via Rail employees told me, like, yeah, they're like beyond disgusted.
We need to punch out, Brent. We're running along, so we need to punch out. But
sure.
It was a good episode, though.
Show. But I'm going to continue that discussion about my train journey on another show. So stay tuned on that, because I'm going to tell you about a few memories that stuck out on that. But I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in today. Sometimes I go a little bit off the rails, but when it comes to things that I'm so passionate about and explaining things, but it really touches home when someone is kind of concluding today's episode, is that when somebody has given you a gift, you are very grateful for. I was taught by my mom when growing up, be thankful, be grateful, appreciative, Brent, and don't question things. When somebody gives you something, don't question it. Don't say, can I trade that in for something else? Because I used to trade hockey cards for little race cars, like little cars.
Yeah.
But then the person came back and said, can I, I gave you the hockey cards. Could I trade that? Could you have these other ones? And guess what? I had traded it off. So my point is, when somebody gives you something, be grateful. I guess when it comes to a gift, don't think that, I'm going to go and change it in for money.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's my point is to you, bud. I think it's a learning lesson for you, is that
hopefully
all I expect from you, sir, in return from a comment, and I know you're going to watch this, I want to see on social media, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I hope so.
Because if you keep vomiting on me, sir, I'm going to keep on putting more shows out. If you don't want to see that happen, then you can say, I'm sorry to the disability community for putting you down. Be an advocate.
Well, not just you, but basically the
That's
whole
what I mean.
disability
Everybody.
community.
That's what I
Like,
mean. I mean, be an
yeah,
advocate for all the
yeah,
disability
yeah,
community, and just say, look, this is your life. That's your life. I'm not going to judge you for
yeah,
whatever it is. I mean, stay in your own lane, bud. If
yeah,
you want to stay, if you want to start pounding on people, you're going to get hounded on real bad. Okay.
yeah. I mean, the
Not here.
fact that he has an RGI unit, I'm grateful for it.
Great. That's all.
The fact that he has a great food bank by his place that gives him like three
Great.
square meals a day,
Great.
great. You
Great.
know,
Yeah.
good for you. But you know, the truth is, you know, only 26% get RGI units. The truth
Yeah.
is, the majority of food banks are not good. That's the truth.
Mhm.
But anyway,
Yeah.
we gotta
Yeah.
punch out.
I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Reach out and share, like, comment, subscribe to our channel. Like I said at the top of the show, it really helps our show grow in many ways. If you'd like to contribute to the show in your own way of liking, subscribing, if you want to donate to buy us a coffee, as we always say, there's options on there. You go into the comment section, you'll see the dollar figure right there at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
You'll see it as we're live in 24 hours from now. The comment section will pop back up again. You'll see the dollar figure.
Right at below the video there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you'll see it, and it all helps us grow the channel.
Yeah.
Today was the Disability 101. It was also part of Rant and Rave of a Brent, so
Yeah.
it's kind of blended into both. As you can tell, everyone, I get very passionate. I get very emotional when it comes to people that are just pissing me off deliberately. I am I was told by my grandma, had always said, "You don't need to explain yourself, Brent."
Yeah.
And God rest her soul, she used to give me ice cream and cookies. My mom would say, "Brent, why are you not hungry for dinner?" I'll leave it at that for today's show. But hey, stay tuned. Next show. Take care.
Okay. Bye, everyone.